Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Couch Cat Podcast. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm joined today by longtime friend of the podcast and Couch Cat itself, Ben, and our first ever community guest, Burnt Potato. Hey guys, what's up?
Good to be here. How are you?
Likewise.
Wow, thanks both of you gentlemen for such a great introduction. Anyway, this episode we'll be talking about Grounded. It's a sick game we got our hands on for a free weekend on Steam last weekend, actually. But yeah, before we get into Grounded itself, I'd like to introduce you guys and gals to Burnt Potato. Like I said before, he's our first community member guest, and he's been part of the community for a while now. So, Potato, as I'll call you for short, how'd you meet us?
Well, I saw an announcement on the main SOMO Discord and decided to hop in here and chill.
Yep. And for those of you who don't know, SMO is Simple MMO. It's a game we've been playing for a couple months now. We've done a plethora of content on it and plan to do more in the future. But yeah, so he hangs out in our Discord. We stream regularly in our Discord. And yeah, you've watched us play quite a few games, huh?
Yeah, like Phasmophobia, World of Warships, and countless others.
Due Process.
League of Legends.
Yeah,
Mm.
all of it. But yeah, man. And so, besides the games you watch us play, like, what do you generally find yourself playing anyway, or do you just kind of play so much?
I just play a lot of different types of games where it's just like I don't want to list all of them, man.
You're,
Do you have like a favorite genre?
Favorite genre? Difficult. Probably like just MMO. I like interacting with communities, so multiplayer
oh,
helps.
it's not.
That's why he's
the-
here. That's why he's among us right now. That's it.
It's not the anime porn games on Steam.
Those are a close second, but
Is that just me, dude? Come on, no. Well, yeah. Well, thank you again for being here, dude. It's good. It's good to have someone from the community on the podcast, and thanks again to Ben because it is after midnight on a Saturday night, and we're powering through to get this done. But yeah, so Grounded had a free weekend last weekend from when we're recording this on Steam. And for those of you who don't know, Grounded is a survival game. It's being developed by Obsidian Entertainment, which is not an indie game dev by a long shot, and published by Xbox Game Studios. So overall, Microsoft. It was released for Windows and Xbox One in early access back in July 28th of this year. And the expected release is sometime in 2021. There's also been talks of an enhanced version for the new Xbox Series. And it was rumored for November, but I personally don't know if it's out or not. But anyway, we played it on PC. We played it through Steam. And we're gonna talk about the mechanics of the game briefly for those of you who just maybe are not familiar with survival games or Grounded in general. Ben, will you kick us off?
Sure. So basically, imagine yourself, you're in your backyard and you get shrunk down to the size of like basically an ant. And from there you're trying to survive in a world where bugs are the same size as you. So you kill them, you take their meat, you harvest their food, water, and you always have to manage your food and water levels. It's just like any other, like a lot of these big survival games. And eventually you build armor with the bug parts from the bugs you kill and tier your way up until you feel comfortable, fighting some of the bigger bugs the world has to offer, right? So because we're the size of ants, and if in a bug world, like those are actually like the bottom thing in the food chain, right? There's so many bigger bugs that
Compared to
you
like
see,
a spider.
yeah, like you get like destroyed by everything, right? So
Yeah, there's a bunch of bugs. Like ants and spiders and ladybugs and all the things like the smaller ones that we have to hunt. But yeah, pretty much it's You were saying it's like Bugs Life, and I'll say it's Bugs Life meets Honey I Shrunk the Kids, in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's probably a apt description of this game. Yeah, so like something goes wrong. I don't know exactly the story behind it, but you spawn off and you're like in there's a briefcase there and you're basically shrunk. So and you're trying to figure out like why, like, what's leading this whole thing.
Yep, yep. And it's in early access, like we said before, and the story is continually being fleshed out. But from what we've gathered from playing the free weekend, like what Ben said, you spawn with a suitcase, and there's a tutorial that's guiding you to there's like little research camp. So obviously, people have been shrunken before you. So you're kind of like you're following breadcrumbs through the tutorial, and leading up to the mysterious incident of the shrinkage, right? But as Ben touched on, it's basic survival, food, water, health, all that stuff. The environment's full of bugs and resources to gather, and the map is pretty huge, especially at your scale and size. The differing biomes aren't, it's really not that different. Just imagine a backyard, right? Where there's spotches of dead grass, and maybe there's a koi pond now and stuff like that, and a big tree, etc. And there are landmarks that we'll talk about later, such as like juice boxes, whatever. But along all that, there's the crafting, of course. Guys, have you guys ever played a game like a survival game without crafting? Because I haven't. But
Well, not a good one without crafting.
yeah, not
To
not a
say
good
the
one,
least.
right? So there's crafting. There's obviously going to be a tech tree involved, such as armor, because different insects and different resources unlock different types of armor and different attributes for those armors, such as like the ants have different armor and spiders, etc.
Yeah, so it's like the most metal thing, right? So you're like you're taking the carcasses of the
Yeah,
bugs you destroy and then wearing them to
yeah,
battle.
yeah. Nothing like wearing the helmet of an ant you just decapitated, which we'll get into later, because that definitely did happen. But you got the armor, you have the tools for the said resources, and then base utility. You will flesh, like any other survival game, you will flesh out a base. With walls and workbenches and lights for ambience, which make for awesome screenshots, which I posted on the Couch Cat Twitter. Shameless plug. And things of that nature to make your life easier, like water collectors and food and everything that a survival game has. Then there's also stuff sprinkled around the map called raw science points, which help you unlock tech, because you're studying. It's like Graveyard Keeper, where you're collecting things and you're studying things as you collect them, and that will unlock the subsequent tiers or items that are adjacent to what you just researched, right? So there's that sprinkled around the map. To I guess a word exploring, and Potato is going to talk about a little bit of exploring, aren't you, Potato?
Yeah, well, exploring is tedious but really enjoyable, and it looks really good. Like the graphics of the game just work perfect.
What makes exploring tedious?
You have to walk everywhere, and you are not the fastest person in the world. And
That's
yeah,
true.
just the pure scale of like being so small, moving anywhere, well, any great distance is a real challenge.
I don't think there's
It,
fast traveling, right? I mean, at least we haven't
not
unlocked
as
it.
far as I know. Yeah, it
Unless
really puts in the perspective. Like you watch that little ant on the ground, you can watch it for 5 minutes. It's maybe crossed half the sidewalk. So it's kind of that going on because the scale of the game.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're just super small, and and like I said before, the game looks really good. So sightseeing is just really fun, like walking around just random hills and just looking down and seeing how small everything is, and like seeing your base over there, and it's like,
yeah,
is it really that small?
yeah. Because
And
we
you're not even that
actually
far away.
Yeah, we walked up a hill that overlooked our base, and you could see. Remember that we ran up there and we could see like the whole backyard, and everything seemed so far away.
Yeah, and the
um,
porch just right nearby.
yeah, and you actually can't get to it.
Yeah, so far out
Um,
of reach.
yeah, and then so along with like exploring, he's Potato is 100% correct. The graphics are awesome. It's what you'd expect from akin to a AAA title, and this has awesome water graphics, by the way, everyone. And I'm a sucker for water graphics. It's got awesome light graphics. The fire looks awesome in this game for your campfire, etc. But yeah, so along with exploring, Ben would put down markers because we were discovering favorite locations. Potato, can you talk about that a little bit? Like what we were marking and why we wanted those areas known to us.
Yeah, so we were marking areas where we could farm bugs, basically, so we could get their materials for either equipment or for food, because that was a very big scarcity for some of the game.
Yeah, we were
And
always hungry.
yeah, we
Yeah.
needed certain parts of bugs for armor, like I said before, and they're very rare. So we needed to mark down the specific areas where they were, so we could, make the most of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
it seemed like bugs spawned in certain areas and didn't spawn in other ones. So it was like farming points basically. So,
Yep.
started
And
to mark them all down.
yeah, along with, the marking, we'd actually, it'd come down to combat. So can you like describe the hunting and then also like the pure like battle combat that we've experienced so far? Like how that feel to you?
So hunting is a lot of chasing after the animal if they run away, like aphids, because they're very small and they're very fast, and they will get out of your grasp very quickly. And they're very hard to hit because they are small, but they were not impossible to hit because their hitboxes were felt at least a little bit bigger than they were, and that held true for most enemies in the
Yeah,
game.
maybe
And
it's like a handicap on our end.
well, I mean, we're like Ben said before, our hitboxes felt big as well, and just on both sides, it felt like if you hit anywhere near the general person, you would generally land a hit. And
One
some,
thing I notice about the combat is it's very clicky. It's like spammy, right? So
yeah,
you click on the enemy until it dies.
and
Um, which is like every game, right? But
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
like it's so you have imagine you have a spear or some kind of melee weapon. Everything seems to be melee. There is a range, there's an arrow, but the arrows are so hard to craft that we haven't even like delved into that. Otherwise, we'd probably be using those. Um, but so in that case, everything's melee, and it's just like you're just clicking till it dies.
Yeah. And I will say, um, there is feedback though. Like the combat has feedback. The spear, the
Yeah, there's
axe.
some weighty hits. There is
Yeah,
some
like you're not
they're
just
weighty.
you're not just like flinging in the air. You don't you have weight. Uh, you have feedback when you're hitting. Some of the creatures. That being said, some of the creatures will. They won't react like they're getting hit because I mean the AI is still pretty wonky, which that we can talk about that later.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
combat
yeah.
is pretty straightforward and can be enjoyable. But like what Potato was saying, especially in the pond area when there's like tadpoles and water bugs, like you are chasing down things until you can corner them because they'll get hung up on like say in the pond like a lily pad or something, or on land they'll get hung up sometimes in the wall or a
Leaf.
rock.
Yeah. Like a grass.
Yeah,
Like the ants will get caught up on grass. That's the only way we catch them
yeah,
sometimes
the
because they're so
stems.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, But yeah, I would say for the most part, yeah, combat feels good. Probably could get some tweaking, and we haven't tried range because yeah, we craft the bow, but the arrows are so resource intensive. We found our direction pushed to a different way, like like staying like survival resources, like how can we manage water and our food. Um, so yeah, thanks, Potato. So moving on from like the mechanics, what we really want to talk about was the fun we had. So we played. It's 4-player co-op, and we played 3-player co-op. But before Potato, hopped in, Ben and I had at least, I think, close to 2 hours in the game itself.
Something like that.
Yeah, we didn't really get far. We completed the tutorial that leads you to the giant oak tree in the backyard, and lo and behold, there's a lab there, and there's a friendly robot that you can repair, and he, of course, extends the story. Um, where that's what the latest September update is all about. That's where the koi fish comes in as a giant boss monster that one shots you, and then the pond itself, and there's something at the depth, like at the deep end or at the bottom of the pond, and the armor, the resources that follow with the pond will get you down there to hold your breath long enough. But that's all we really did. It's just we blitzed through the tutorial. We had a campfire and like half a wall up. Potato joined us in the Discord and was streaming it. He liked what he saw. We told him it was a free weekend, and the rest is history. So with Potato jumping in, we really started to build out our base and flesh things out, right? I mean, until Ben, you want to tell us about your little happy accident?
Well, so in this game, we talked about it before. There's raw science. It's this pink blob. It's looks like Jello, and when you pick this up, it leads down the tech tree. I'm still not exactly quite sure. They don't really explain what it does. You said it goes to the tech tree. I still can't really tell what it does. But I see pretty pink ball thing. I go and grab it. So there's this little rock crevice, and it drops down a little bit, and there happened to be one of these blobs, and I'm like, okay, I'll go grab this thing. I drop down, and I realize you can't actually jump back up. It's just slightly too tall for me to like jump in. Like, I think you can grab ledges in this game, right? Maybe
No,
not.
no.
Okay, so it's not a ledge grabber, so I actually couldn't reach over the wall. It's like if it was a ledge grabber, I could jump out, but it's not. So I was just trapped in this little pit, and then I looked down, and I could see some little baby spiders, and there's like it's a drop. It's like a 30-foot drop into like a green pool, and then like two ledges on each side. I couldn't see the other ledge because I was standing above it with the rocks looking down. But on the one ledge in front of me, there were like little baby spiders looking up. And then I decide like, hey, this is like a good point for an adventure, right? So let's round up the crew and let's go hunt these baby spiders, and also save me from being slowly dying to thirst and food sitting on this ledge, because I can't take on these baby spiders by myself.
Yeah, so picture this, all right? So Potato just joined. He's like skipping along, singing he's singing a song. He's like, wow, this is a cool game, right? And I'm like collecting, I think, juice from the juice box, because it's like guaranteed water source. And this game, you get desperate when you're running low on water. And Ben was saying like I'm low on water, and then he falls. And Ben's like, hey, you guys should come over here. Like this will be fun. Like we can fire a way out, and we'll have a story to tell. And
it looked like I just said it was a cave.
Yeah,
I didn't say that he was misleading. Spiders. I didn't say
he was highly misleading. Like, Potato, what were you thinking when you heard, come on over, let's have a party? Like,
I thought there would be a way out at the end.
There was a way out. There was a way out.
Yeah, we
saw the way out.
There is a story to tell, but it's not a good one. Like, Ben coerced us. He's like, don't you want an adventure? Like, isn't this why we're playing this game? Like, you need to come over here now. And so I'm like walking over there. Potato, he was like, all right, I'll fucking come over here. And I fall down. I'm like, Ben, we can't get back up. And then Potato comes over and he's navigating towards us, and he falls in. And as soon as Potato lands on me, we start getting mobbed by baby spiders. Like, that was so scary.
That's after we dropped down. So, like, we were staring down at the ledge. We were staring down at the ledge first.
Oh, I went straight down, dude. I like went straight in.
As soon as I got there, I just went straight down. And Potato, I got mauled. I just got mauled.
Yeah, he fell on me, and we were just screaming.
So they dropped on the far ledge. I actually think I dropped in the pool.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so
It's like
the
a little
ledge
dip.
actually had the spiders on it. So I climbed up, and they were both got downed instantly because the spiders do like a third of your health each hit, and they're like little baby things, so they hit constantly. Somehow I was able to kill one, and then like get one of them up, and then we got the other one up, and then it was like a fight for our life to kill the little baby spiders because we were constantly going down. And
Yeah.
then we wiped them all out, and then we go down this tunnel, and then we can see our way out.
What's out
But
there?
I said, well, here's the way out, but there's a problem, and no, because I was the first one there, and there's a spider blocking our way, but it wasn't just any spider. It was actually like a wolf spider or something. It was actually
Yeah, it was
like
giant.
huge, like 10 times the size of us minimum,
Yeah,
and
insane.
which puts in perspective. That's what ants have to fight against, So like I'm glad I'm not an ant. Um,
So what when we fell down and we had like that short, reprieve. So essentially, there's like a little dip with water, and there's two ways. The way Ben just talked about, which
Yep.
is patrolled by a freaking giant spider,
And
and
we
then the way
decided to go back the other way.
yeah, we went back to the other way, and lo and behold, it's a dead end with another giant spider, but that giant spider was glitched in the wall. So like you should have seen Potato and Ben just like going mad. I was like, "Hey, guys, there's a freaking spider back here. It's stuck. I think we can kill it." They're just like stabbing it like instantly, like no hesitation. They're just like, "Beat it, beat it." And like oh my god, like we slayed this one spider and it did not feel good because he was glitched. Like it didn't even count.
Yeah,
And
there
we were
was no
still stuck
reward.
down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was.
it was
No, I
not
picked up
pleasure.
like this.
It was just anger.
Yeah, it was just anger, and I picked up like the one resource, but lo and behold, we don't survive, so it doesn't matter. But
The reason we went that way was to try and
get
find
out.
another escape route
Yeah,
because we could see the way out on the other end with the giant wolf spider, except it's behind a giant wolf spider. So I'm like, okay, let's go the other way. Now, the one thing about this game is, as we mentioned before, time is always ticking. Like at this point, we're like hungry and thirsty,
yeah.
and it's just like we have to like pick a way, right? Like so we decide we have to fight through the spider or get around it or something. I don't know the thought process to that point, but there's no way around the
I was thinking
spider.
sacrifice. I was like, someone's gonna die for us to escape.
I was thinking
Well,
the same thing. I tried. It did not work.
Yeah, no, Potato was
we
the first to
eventually
drop.
aggroed it. We eventually aggroed it, and it just comes all the way down the tunnel, and then it leashes.
Yeah.
But by that point, by the time it leashed, like it moves fast. It moves really fast. Like it's on you in like a couple of seconds. Like
Yep,
Yeah, if you're not out of the way in time, you're just instantly dead one shot.
yep. It tore
I
through
actually took a
Potato.
hit and didn't die immediately.
Well,
So I don't think it's a one shot, but like it attacks very quickly, so you're gonna die. Like
And
well,
we
no,
were
it's a one
also-
shot when you're just res, because when you're just res, you're
Yeah,
at
we
very
were
low
low.
HP. Because
yeah,
we got killed a lot.
Yeah, a
More
lot.
times than I'd care to admit.
So like Potato was peaking. We were all pretty much peaking, and it started like Ben said, it leashed. And leashing is when like the AI is aggroed towards you, it's aggressive towards you, or it's interacting with you, so it's following you.
and
And
it hits a certain point and then stops.
yeah,
It
so
just
it
goes
starts
back to-
coming. We scream. Potato gets taken out, like just gone, like dead. Ben's
I
like,
go
don't.
down. I go down next, right?
Yeah, Ben goes down. I'm like,
and then
I
you're
made
just
it.
like you're hiding.
Yeah, I made it around the
Baiting
bend.
us.
And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, the sacrifice didn't work. Like, I'm not getting out here alive, even though I just threw my two friends to the wolves, right? Or to the spider. And so I sneak up. Potato's too far up, and Potato eventually just bleeds out. Because you don't bleed out, but you have a timer, and then you're force resed. And you leave behind your backpack with all your resources. So Potato goes. I get Ben up, but that didn't work either. Like I remember being like, we tried again, but Ben, you die, right? And then I'm like left alone.
I went
And-
down again. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's no like you can't even get close. Like you can't even creep up on it. It immediately like aggroes and runs down the tunnel
Yep.
when you
Yep.
get close enough. And the leash is like further than the aggro range. So like there's like a good amount of time it can hit you. And it's one shot down when how low we were at that point. Because at that point I just got res. So
Yep. And I remember it was on you. and just like with Potato, like the spider hovered around the body, and so you're just like, oh, just there's no way, man. And so I ran forward and pretty much just threw myself. I just gave up, and all of our backpacks were like right by each other, and I was like, wow, Ben, it worked out just as you said. We'd have a fun story. We'd
It
make it
was not
out
a fun story.
alive.
It was not a fun
Yeah,
story.
That's it.
dude, we were stuck down there for like 10 minutes, and it was all hell. It was pure hell.
We had a good time. I had a good time in that tunnel.
You had a good time.
Yeah, you can live down there, dude. How will that? Like,
Well, and so from that point on,
Yeah,
we didn't have
propelled.
anything. We lost everything. So thankfully, we didn't have much. We were only one tier in. So at that point, we decided to set out and armor up and get gear and get ready to go back in was the goal. So we started going for ant gear, right? That's the next tier up.
Yeah, we were farming them. So, yeah, so Ben starts this whole story of revenge. And if you've ever played Red Dead Redemption 2, you know revenge is a fool's errand, right? Arthur Morgan says it over and over throughout the game. And that's exactly what this was. Like, Ben's like, oh, we'll be able to get everything back. Like, no problem. And so we started exploring around our base. I actually did not. I expanded our base out, like full enclosure, doors, all that stuff. Meanwhile, Potato was running around foraging. He was collecting meat. Ben's running around slapping ants that he could find.
Yep. And then behind our base, I found ant hill, and
it was perfect.
It was very scary when I first saw it because it was just an absolute swarm of ants that would instantly kill me if I got close enough. So I ran back for obvious reasons and got everyone together.
Yep. And so Ben's like, what are we waiting for, right? Like he was all about this. He did not care about the base anymore. Like first it was like, dude, we need to get stuff so we can have a farm and things of that nature,
I never said that. I never care about that stuff.
Dude, you definitely cared.
I just want to kill. Oh no, the water thing.
You were like, I'm sick of being dehydrated.
Yeah, so that is one thing. So there's like this dew catcher thing, but it requires
so much
spider web.
Yeah,
it requires spider web, and we had spider web, but it was back in our backpacks.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, we were in a cave full of spiders and spider web, and I would scream because you run into it and you're stuck. You have to like slap your way out of it. But yeah, so Potato, I was just like mindlessly. I love building bases, so I was just like keeping to myself. And Potato's like, there's a giant anthill right by our base. Which, for those of you who are looking to play this game and are new, take a close look around where you're at, where the tutorial camp leads you, or where you go to the tutorial camp, because there's a lot of things like right in front of you, and that anthill is literally in the backyard of where we're sleeping safe and sound every night, in game. So that kicked off Ben. Like, you want to talk about how you rallied us and like it was like Vietnam tactics. Like we were like in the brush.
Well, at that point we got our clover armor, right? So everyone got geared up in clover armor, which is like the tier 1 armor in the game. We had our spears, and we basically, it was like Bug's Life again, right? Where all the ants go outside, and it's like the termites come down the hill, and they're like, there's blood everywhere.
Oh, so Slaughterfest. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all getting ready to do that. Basically, we go to the ant hill, and we actually we kill a few ants, but then we find this this glitched set of like 6 or 7 ants stacked on top of each other, and they're just sitting there. Like, so ants are friendly outside of the anthill, besides if you attack them. But the anthill, they get aggravated if you get too close. But this set was like away from it, but they were all just like hugging each other.
Yeah, a bunch of worker
we decide
ants.
like we need this gear. I'm all about it. Let's just kill them. Let's hit them at the same time. Yeah. And we walk up, like after like deliberating, it's like everyone's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, let's kill these ants. And we all started hitting them, and it was like a slaughter. Like all the ants like died.
They didn't even
react.
Like
7 of them stacked on stacked.
They just standed still and did nothing about it as we slaughtered their brothers and sisters.
Which is a common theme in this game. We've killed a few bugs where they just sit there and just let us kill them.
Yeah,
definitely something for them to fix.
I took a screenshot of proof of like just all the like body parts from that pile. But it was great. Just imagine the scene from like Anchorman. Like we were all just smashing things with like bats, and obviously it was spears, and the computer stuff and office stuff was the ants. But yeah, it was a bunch of worker ants that were just glitched, like Ben said, and we just slaughtered them. Potato came around from behind, and then me and Ben were in front. And we just like slapped him down, and suddenly we had enough resources for armor. So
Well, we had a lot there, but then we actually went for the hill, right?
yeah,
And then
Yeah,
there
we
was
just
the
wanted more
actual. So
blood.
there's worker ants, and then there's the actual like
the
warrior
yeah.
ants. And these things are like 4 or 5 times the size of a regular worker ant, probably at least maybe bigger.
And
And
do
then they
more
also have
damage.
pincers. They have pincers on their teeth instead of like whatever the little ants have. It's just way bigger.
Yeah, they're not giving
So
you a little kiss.
I wish they would.
I
But we
knew
ended
it.
up we ended up they were actually too strong for us to take them all on at once, so we had to lure them away from the hive. It was really glitchy because
Yep.
they would like kind of like stop aggravating and then like start like constantly, but like we eventually like whittled them down to the point where we had killed all the warrior ants, and we had a good stash of loot, and that's when we started crafting our ant armor
Yeah.
using the
And I don't
we
know.
were like wear a cat kabuto with the ant head.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know if you can actually like defeat the anthill permanently, and they don't just constantly respawn. But
Yeah, we never went inside.
we spent so much time rubber banding them, because that's what they were doing. They would essentially chase us, get caught up on something, rebound, and then watch us slaughter their like friends and family, and then come back after us. But yeah, we were out there for a minute just slapping them. We would have a couple of people go down. I know a Potato had to pick me up a couple times, and vice versa.
I went
but
down for
yeah,
sure.
Ben went down.
I went down so many times.
Yeah, the warrior ants, they lunge, right? And
Yeah, they do. It's like a 2 or 3 shot kill, even with the clover armor. I think the clover armor is good as nothing. It doesn't help much.
So
Yeah.
there's some telltale signs like in the combat. Like they'll like rear back, and then they'll jump wherever you're at. Like they'll jump to meet you, so you can sidestep and whack them. But yeah, it really came down to the point of like being out of reach of their pincers to take them out. But generally, someone ended up taking the first hit, and it sucked. Like we really didn't have a lot of bandages prepped. I know like Ben was depleted at one point.
I had a single
It's
bandage.
hard. Resources in that game are hard to come by. Like so to craft bandages, you need sap, and they only spawn on like trees, like wood, and you have to. They only spawn a couple at a time, and it takes 2 to craft a bandage. So I mean, I found a good amount of them, but yeah, I mean that was after the fact.
Yeah,
So
when we
this
were
is
like
pretty
knee deep in
early,
it.
So yeah.
Yeah, when poor Potato was just screaming for his life.
I died once. Did I die twice? Yeah, no, I think I died twice.
He died
like,
twice.
Completely
Yeah, you
bled
died.
out.
Hey,
then
hey,
he
Potato, do
found
you want
out
to play
that-
with us? Dead.
He
That
found
always
out that the
happens.
backpack doesn't despawn on the second death, apparently.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't go away. So good testing.
Yeah.
It was totally for experimentation. I
Yeah.
totally didn't.
Yeah,
totally
this was
didn't
a
die on
limit.
accident.
It's a limit test.
Yeah.
But yeah, so essentially we had like the cool, like, so the ant armor is like samurai armor. It mimics samurai armor. So a lot of us had like the samurai gear. But that's like, dude, oh man, I think we played for like 2.5 or 3 hours. Like we put in a lot of time. And it was mainly like on that revenge storyline. Like we stopped. I don't even think we went to the pond with Potato in our game. Like we
Yeah,
went
no.
there.
I never went there with you guys.
Yeah, he never saw the huge koi fish patrolling the pond.
Probably
but
for
like,
the best.
it was probably
Yeah.
for the best. Yeah, like we spent, I think, at max like 6 minutes at the pond. But yeah, instead of like going on like the prescribed route from the game, we were so like we were so
We had to
tunnel
get our
visioned
backpacks back.
on our backpacks from the spider den that we never went back to. And we would constantly see them patrolling when we were like exploring and like we talked about earlier, marking, farming places like where certain creatures grow or resources are. But we never really got our revenge on the spiders. We just slaughtered ants. And it's unfortunate. It kind of sucked because the free weekend was literally like Friday and Saturday, not even Sunday, right? Or it bled out in the morning, but we didn't actually get to test like our armor against the spiders to see if we were worthy enough for revenge. But I will say the act of what we did and like the jankiness of it all, it was fun. It wasn't a linear path. Like we were doing our own thing. We had this whole revenge thing set up from Ben. Thank you, Ben. And it forced us to progress. Through the tech tree, through items, through armor. It was overall a fun time. I mean, what do you guys think?
I thought it was a pretty solid game. It does have some. I mean, you did touch on that it's a AAA game to a degree, right? But it's still kind of like you
Early
said, it's kind
access
of
bugs.
janky. Yeah,
Yeah.
it still feels like kind of in between like an indie because it has a decent amount of bugs besides the actual bugs in the game, right? But
Yeah.
the computer bugs, the programming bugs. There's a lot of those. Hopefully, over time, they flesh out more content and more like less general like quality of life fixes. I think is the main thing they could use right now, alongside more story. I guess. I mean, even though we didn't get that far in the story, from what you were saying, it seems like we found a lot of it already.
Yeah, there's not much. Like I think the pond um it like slows you down a bit because you have to, farm the tadpoles and the water bugs to get the, required
The
resources
tech
and
tree,
tech
yeah.
to, go down and explore. We can't speak what's down there. We can't speak what's beyond it, but that was the, center of the September update. Um, so yeah, you're really just going to be entertaining yourself with like discovering or farming resources for armor types and building a base to a certain degree because the base building is pretty fleshed out for now. Um, but yeah, story wise, it's going to be really up to you to find fun in it. I mean, that's early access, right? Like, uh,
I think that's a common theme for a lot of survival games, right? They don't really
true.
have a set story, and you just kind of find your own way.
And this is
So if
different.
you like that, it's more of the same, right? In that sense, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there is a story
there is a
there,
story
but
though.
like
Yeah.
it's not
It's
It's
not
the
built
that
up yet.
you don't have to. Yeah, you
yeah.
don't have to. I mean, you have to play it, but you don't just need the story for it to be
The
a
story isn't
enjoyable
needed.
game.
Yeah, the story isn't needed. And it felt like an indie game to me, like almost the entire way through, except for the graphics. And I keep going back to it, but it really just looks amazing, the game.
Dude, it does. Yeah, like rip Obsidian Entertainment from the like description. And you're like, "Oh, dude, Microsoft is pumping out some like indie games. Like they got some indie developers under their wing now." No, it's Obsidian. Like it's a huge studio, or at least a team that has a huge history. But yeah, it does look good. Like the water droplets that you need for water. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're nice.
But
It just looks really nice. That's all I have to say. It's like it just looks good.
yeah, Potato joined, slaughtered countless bugs, died, you know, countless times, faced hardship, and he will say the game looks beautiful.
It does. It just looks good.
It
I mean
looks good
that
from
you
the
died screen doesn't
respawn
look
screen
amazing.
too.
Yeah, that screen. I didn't like that screen very much, but I did like the, just the plants and all the just little water droplets everywhere. Just everything looked nice except for that screen because I was there too much.
Yeah, yeah. The environment is
I would
awesome.
say that the character models, I'm not a fan of like who you get to pick from. I mean, that was like kind of my gripe at the beginning, right? Because I mean, you're kids in this game, right?
Yeah,
You're playing the role of so like 12-year-olds, I guess you would say, something around
I
there,
don't know.
maybe a little younger. Um, yeah, so like basically there's only 4 characters to pick from, and you're like locked into that character. You can't have duplicates or anything, which some games are like that, but it was like a minor gripe for me playing
Yeah,
it.
and
But
I mean, we don't really know how the characters fit in the story. We didn't really, check up on the lore of the game when we grabbed it for the free weekend, so we don't know really what's going on with that. But I will say, the character models, like thinking back on it, like the graphics are amazing, but I do feel like I'm playing like a triple A Jimmy Neutron like
yeah,
character.
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very you're very cartoony.
But then you're like ripping these ants apart, you
Yeah,
know?
very there's like blood is very visceral in some parts. But yeah, it's like the character models themselves are like a very triple A Jimmy Neutron esque vibe, if that's even like a way to describe something. Um, with that kind of like 3D, animation. But yeah, I think moving on from our story. Hopefully you found that entertaining because it was fun. It was a genuinely fun moment. But just to close it out with our concerns, we talked about it briefly. The AI still has a long way to come. And what I'm just interested to see what the actual story will be like and what that will bring to the game. I wonder, they added the koi pond, right? Or at least the koi fish. Like, are they going to add more biomes or maybe deaths? Like, there's already kind of
Go
like
into
that.
the neighbor's yard and they have a dog.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Toy Story, but like, more like there's already kind of like
It's
min.
basically Toy Story, man. Like it feels like a Toy Story, man, to a degree. That's why I said like Bugs Life. It's like got
Yeah.
that feel, like that
Yeah.
Disney
Like a
movie
Pixar
feel. Yeah,
movie.
Pixar. Yeah.
I mean, at the
But
beginning, you even come out of a case, so it's
yeah,
basically it's basically just
yeah. I
a
wonder if
story.
they'll add like cave systems, right? Like, that's one way, right?
Besides the cave we went in,
Or
the
Yeah,
yeah. Besides the
spider cave.
spider den, but maybe they'll add like biomes in the form of items in the backyard. Like a lawnmower or like a dog house or something like that. Like I think that's where what players would be looking at in the future. But yeah, that's my only thing is the AI is pretty freaking weird, and what will the story actually end up being? What about you, Ben, and then Potato and go after him?
Well, yeah, same as you, like the AI thing. Hopefully that gets fleshed out. But as far as the story goes, I mean, like we touched on, it's a survival game at its core level, and it doesn't have to have a great story, but that could be the way it sets itself apart from other survival games, right? I mean, that's kind of what it seems to be leading towards. They built the survival game first, and now they're kind of adding the story as they go. So, like right now, if you like a survival game like Bare Bones, that kind of thing, this game has a pretty good base for that. But if you want a story, like it's not completely fleshed out yet. So, if you're just like looking for story only, this might not be the game for you. But they're currently working on it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
and Potato.
my main concerns are just hitboxes, just make it feel a little bit nicer, and a little bit fix with the spears because they feel really OP. It's like you're stabbing around and you're just killing stuff immediately. And it's like, okay, so I
Dude,
don't
don't
need
tell him
another
that.
weapon. I just don't need another weapon. I guess I'll just use
Dude, I
this
want
I
I
to the
think
want
end.
I want OP.
I felt
Well,
like the spears, like they fell off pretty quickly damage wise. Like it would take a lot of hits to bring down one
A
of the
warrior.
warrior ants, or like that spider took us like 30 seconds of hitting it.
yeah,
That
but the
stink bug, we had this
beginning
stink
game
bug
is
that was
super
just
easy.
glitching out.
But
Yeah,
anything
so
at the
I mean,
beginning is super easy.
if they had like a higher tier spear, I don't like we haven't seen that, right? It's only been the tier 1 that you can craft. And oh, that is one thing, crafting the spears, like it costs more to repair them than craft them, which was really weird. But
There are like daggers and stuff that I can get from like spiders and ants. Like there's there's other weapons. We just never crafted them. We used all of our resources. We pulled them together for the armor.
Well, we crafted the clubs at the end,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
we
we
never
did.
never
Those
got to
were
test them.
those were hardcore though. Like they felt heavy. Friendly firing each other. Uh, hey, potato, and like potato, like I'm swinging in the air, and potato walks right into me, and I just smack his health. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I think that's like half of my health, even with like nearly full ant armor. I was just missing a helmet. It's like half my
Yeah,
health.
he just walked in and got brained, and I was like, shit.
So they definitely do some damage.
Yeah, but so I mean, generally, it's just like it's even though it's akin to a AAA game, or will probably be sold as a AAA game, even though it's not being sold at that price, 30 bucks ain't bad. It's got the common gripes of an early access game. It was fun to play, especially with it free. I'm definitely down to get it in the future. I'm gonna keep my eye on it. But yeah, overall, fun game. We had fun, and we hope you enjoyed our little story and talking about Grounded. Um, like usual, please go to our website, www.couchcatgaming.com. Check out all of our stuff. We just dropped a blog a couple days ago. It's like the first one in a while talking about future indie game releases. Definitely check it out. Don't sleep on those games coming out soon. Check us out on social media. We have Twitter, Instagram. Also, check out the podcast. And if you're listening to the podcast but not going to the website for other content, you'll see the links provided in the podcast description. And then also check out the YouTube channel. Alan, another host of the Couch Cat podcast and just Couch Cat in general. He's uploading some cool, simple MMO stuff. And hopefully soon, a Phasmophobia video of all of us screaming and dying miserably. But yeah, before we go, I just want to say thanks for coming out, Ben. And thank you, Potato, for hopping on this podcast. I think this is your first podcast ever. And it was cool to have you on the show. But yeah, see you next time.
Yep. Thank you. See you.
Yep, see ya.